It was late November in a small Midwestern town, the kind of place where winter arrived early and stayed longer than anyone wanted. The streets were already dusted with snow, and the air had that sharp cold that stung your nose the second you stepped outside. People walked faster this time of year, heads down, hands buried deep in their coats, minds focused on getting warm. Ethan Miller was one of them. At 32, Ethan lived a quiet life. He worked as a night shift janitor at a downtown office building. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay much, but it paid the bills. Barely. He lived alone in a small apartment above a closed-down bakery, the smell of old yeast and sugar still clinging faintly to the walls. Ethan wasn't unhappy, exactly. He just felt invisible most nights. He cleaned empty offices where no one noticed if the floors were shiny or the trash cans were emptied just right. He clocked in, did his job, and clocked out. No one asked about his day. No one really knew him. On his walk home one night, Ethan stopped at the same bus stop he passed every evening. That's when he noticed her. She was sitting on the bench, shoulders hunched, wearing a thin jacket that clearly wasn't enough for the cold. A grocery cart sat beside her, filled with mismatched bags and old blankets. Her hair was streaked with gray, pulled back loosely, and her hands were red from the cold. She stared straight ahead, not asking for anything. Not holding a sign. Just there. Ethan slowed his steps. Homeless people weren't new to the city, but something about her felt different. Maybe it was how still she was. Or how tired her eyes looked. Not just tired from lack of sleep, but tired in a deeper way. Ethan kept walking. He told himself what most people tell themselves. Someone else would help. He didn't have much money. He was barely getting by himself. And besides, what difference could he really make? But the image stayed with him all the way home that night. As Ethan lay in bed listening to the hum of traffic below, he couldn't shake the thought of that woman sitting alone in the cold. He imagined how the bench must have felt, freezing through her clothes. He imagined the long night ahead of her. The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. He stood in his tiny kitchen, staring at his paycheck envelope on the counter. Rent was due soon. Groceries were already tight. Still, he opened the envelope and pulled out a few bills. He didn't count them carefully. He just folded what felt like enough. Then he went to his closet and pulled out his thickest winter coat. The one his dad had given him years ago before he passed away. It was warm, heavy, and still in good shape. Ethan hesitated. That coat had memories stitched into it. But memories didn't keep people warm. He put the coat over his arm, grabbed a paper bag, and left the apartment. The bus stop was quieter in the morning. Cars rushed by, drivers focused on work and deadlines. And there she was again, sitting on the same bench. Ethan's heart pounded harder with each step. He wasn't used to doing things like this. He didn't want attention. He didn't want a conversation. He just wanted to help, and disappeared. He placed the paper bag gently beside her. "Excuse me," he said softly, barely above a whisper. She looked up, startled, eyes wary at first. I thought you might need this," Ethan said, nodding toward the bag. Before she could respond, he stepped back. Inside the bag were the folded bills, the coat, and a note written on a scrap of paper. "It said you matter. Stay warm." That was it. Ethan turned and walked away before she could say a word. His hands were shaking, but his chest felt strangely lighter. For the rest of the day, he wondered if he'd done the right thing. If the money would actually help. If she'd be okay. If he'd made things worse somehow. Days passed, winter deepened. Ethan went back to his routine. Work. Home. Sleep. Repeat. Then, one evening, as he mopped the lobby floor at the office building, a woman walked in. She wore a clean coat, her hair neatly brushed, her posture more confident than most people who entered at that hour. She stopped when she saw Ethan. For a moment, he didn't recognize her. Then she smiled. "Hi," she said gently. "I was hoping I'd see you again." Ethan froze. It was her. The woman from the bus stop. "I wanted to thank you," she continued. "You didn't wait for me to say anything. You didn't ask questions. You just helped. Ethan swallowed. I didn't do much. She shook her head. You did more than you know. She told him her name was Margaret. She'd lost her husband 2 years earlier. Medical bills had drained her savings. One missed rent payment turned into eviction. Pride kept her from asking for help. That coat, Margaret said, her voice trembling slightly, kept me warm for days. And the money helped me get a bus ticket to a shelter my cousin told me about. I start a part-time job next week. Ethan didn't know what to say. I never got the chance to tell you, she added, but your note, that was the first time in months someone reminded me I mattered. She reached into her bag and pulled out the same scrap of paper, now worn and folded. I kept it, she said. Margaret didn't stay long. She thanked him again and left. Ethan stood there long after she was gone, mop still in his hands, eyes blurry with tears. No one else noticed. No cameras. No crowd. No viral moment, just 2 lives, quietly changed. Years later, Ethan would still think about that morning. Not because he gave something away, but because he learned something important. Kindness doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be shared online. It doesn't need credit. Sometimes, the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones no one sees except the person who needed them most, and somewhere out there, someone is carrying a note, a memory, or a warm coat that reminds them they matter. All because one person chose to care. So if you ever wonder whether your small, silent kindness makes a difference, remember this: it might be the moment someone else has been waiting for, and that moment can change everything. Some moments change a life without making a sound. No applause. No thank you speech. Just a quiet choice that ripples outward, long after the moment has passed. This is a story about one of those moments. A small act, almost invisible, that proved kindness doesn't need recognition to be powerful. Take a second to support stories like this. If you enjoy heartfelt, true-to-life storytelling, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people. You're watching Kindness Story Hub, and your support means more than you know.